Good evening, everyone, and welcome. I am the Reverend Sean Wilshire, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. I am proud to be a part of tonight's Transgender Day of Resilience and Remembrance service. Now, you should know that this service is co-produced by three different entities. There's the Orange Coast Unitarian Universalist Church, which I serve and represent here. And then there's also the Resurrection Beach Metropolitan Christian Church, which is served by the Reverend Dale Brown. And the LGBTQ Center of Orange County, which is represented here by Amber Norwood. Tonight, united together, we honor the 48 transgender and non-binary people that were killed in the past year in acts of anti-transgender violence. You should know that this is almost double from previous years. Because there are so many victims this year, we'll be honoring them in different groups, about 5 different groups. And we will, of course, continue the tradition of honoring the 2 trans women whose death inspired the creation of tonight's service. I want to thank you all for being here. It means so much to so many of us that we honor this day. And I want to extend a big thank you to Pastor Dale Brown and to Beth Syverson, our Director of Music Ministries, for putting this service together. We're very honored that all of the musicians and guest speakers participating in tonight's event are transgender or non-binary, with the exception of myself, Beth, Reverend Dale, who will be providing the benediction, and some members of the Orange Coast Choir. And this year, more than ever, our focus is on trans people of color. Black trans lives matter. Some things to be aware of. First, at the end of the candlelight memorial ritual, there will be an opportunity for all of us to light a candle to share on Zoom. So if you want to join in that, I invite you to grab a candle and a lighter that you might have available near you. And second, after the service is over, we're going to host breakout rooms where you may choose, if you like, to be placed in a Zoom room with like about 6 to 8 other attendees. And we hope that this will be a way to help everyone connect with old friends and make new friends and process maybe some of the emotions that might come up during this service. So tonight, in honor of this day, I invite you to be just fully present. Be present with your anger or your grief, and most of all with your love. I invite you to hold this service as a sacred time. Let us begin.
If you had to wear my shoes, you'd probably take them off too. There's an outcast in everybody's life, and I am her. There's a shadow in everybody's front door, and I am her. There's a dark cloud in everybody's sunlight, and I am her. Gold, at least that's what I've been told. I got so many issues and problems that I go through. Sometimes I can't sleep at night. If I hide my face, heaven would be, and it wouldn't be the worst thing that I ever did. It's a hell of a world that we're living in. James 2:10, a sin is a sin. Don't look at me immediately and whisper behind my back, thinking I'm naive. It's my southern hospitality. Tolerates more abuse than even I can believe. There's an outcast in everybody's life, and I am her. There's a dark cloud in everybody's sunlight, and I am her. myself. Never ask for no one's philosophy. It's obvious I'm proud of me. Yeah, 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 yeah. There's an outcast in everybody's life, and I am her. There's a dark cloud in everybody's sunlight, and I am her. There's a shadow in everybody's front door, and I am her. Oh, you know I am
Rita Hester was a 34-year-old Black transgender woman. Our loss of Rita in 1998 went on to inspire Transgender Day of Remembrance and the Remembering Our Dead web project. We honor you, Rita, with our love.
Titi Gully was a 31-year-old Black transgender homeless woman killed in Portland, Oregon on May 27, 2019. While she was killed last year, Gully's death was originally ruled a suicide by hanging. Portland police have since opened an investigation into Gully's death after the victim's family collected and presented evidence that there may have been foul play involved. She had many friends in Portland's homeless community and was known by friends and family as a cheerful, helpful, and loving person.
Nikki Kuhnhausen, a 17-year-old transgender girl, was killed in Vancouver, Washington. She enjoyed sharing videos of her dancing and singing, and she often posted memes to entertain her friends.
Angel Rose Garcia, 21, died in Hyattsville, Maryland on December 10, 2019. Angel Rose was a phenomenal woman, artist, advocate, and community member. Angel touched the souls of so many in the Two-Spirit and trans POC community of the DC metro area. Her artist group changed their name to the Angel Rose Artist Collective in honor of all the labor she did to make their small but strong community more whole.
Alice Carter, age 35, died in Washington, D.C., December 18, 2019. Alice had been homeless for at least 15 years as a result of coming out as trans. Known for years as Baby Alice, Carter's friendly and cheerful disposition, despite her struggle with homelessness and substance abuse, made her a popular figure on 17th Street among those who lived there and those who visited or worked at the restaurants and bars.
Yahira Nesby, a 33-year-old Black transgender woman, was killed in Brooklyn, New York, in an act of gun violence on December 19, 2019. She was a loved member of the New York ball scene and a member of the House of Chanel. She was from Charlotte, North Carolina. She was a religious woman who shared videos and powerful words of faith on her social media profiles.
Dustin Parker, a transgender man, was murdered while working as a taxi driver in McAlester, Oklahoma on New Year's Day. He was an equality activist remembered as a steadfast person who worked tirelessly. Dustin leaves behind a wife and 4 children, and the community is united and supported them. McAllister's mayor said, McAllister lost a supremely nice person who had such a positive outlook on his life. He loved his job, especially that it allowed him to help people. His passing is a loss for our community.
Yulissa Luciano Ruiz was fatally shot in Toa Baja, Puerto Rico on February 24th. According to Metro Puerto Rico, members of her community knew her as humble and noble.
Yampi Mendez Arocho, 19, was killed in Moca, Puerto Rico on March 5, 2020. Arocho, a transgender man, shared his love for basketball and the NBA, donning Miami Heat apparel on social media. The biography line on his Facebook reads simply, "Humility prevails."
John Scott DeVore, also known as Scotland Kelly DeVore, 51, was a gender-fluid person who was murdered in Augusta, Georgia on 3/12/2020. His sister said he still had the same heart no matter what he looked like, which was a good heart, a kind heart. His family misses him greatly.
Give them their roses while they're still here is something that we need to honor every day for the trans women in our lives and that exist in this world. Too often do we honor those after they're gone. We give them their roses when they're no longer here. I want to speak to the fact that we currently have reported from October, November 2019 up until current day, over 50 names, 50 lives that have been lost, 50 goodbyes that are reported. And I want to speak to the work that needs to be done now and why we need to continue to find ways in which to protect the trans community. And too often, those faces, those names that we read off are trans women who look just like me. I'm ready for a future where we can honor those in the past, but we are no longer continually losing the lives of beautiful, precious people, where we can give them their roses while they're living, not when they're gone. That we honor and cherish every moment with these people, and that we create a safe space for them to live and thrive. I'm ready to see a future where a trans person can be whoever they want to be, and they have the ability to do so, and that we live in a society that nurtures that, and that we live in a society that fosters greatness from this community and that protects this community. But until we get to that point, I think it's imperative that we stay connected, that we stay informed, that we stay educated, and we push through the glass ceiling and we continue to fight for what is ours, and that is life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. We should be living in a world where all people are seen as equal, that there is equitable work to be done, that we are living in an equitable space. But we understand that we live in a world where there's so much injustice. And we live in a world where survival is the pinnacle for a lot of folks. We recently had some news which for some is it is joy, it is exuberance, and for others it may be fear or doubt. But our current elect, for the very first time ever, we have a woman and a woman of color as our vice president-elect. And with that news, I'm hopeful that we move towards an equitable space for all people, and that we can no longer sit back while Black trans women and trans women of color and trans and gender nonconforming folks are losing their lives. I'm ready for that day to be today.
Monica Diamond, 34, a Black transgender woman, was killed in Charlotte, North Carolina on March 18th. Diamond was active in the Charlotte LGBTQ and nightlife community
and was the co-owner of an event promotion company. She also was the co-CEO of the International Mother of the Year Pageantry System, a pageant that honors LGBTQ mothers.
Lexi, 33, a transgender woman, was killed in Harlem, New York on March 28th. According to reports, Lexi was fatally stabbed in Harlem River Park. I really looked up to her because of her tolerance and respect, said Livonia Brooks, a friend of Lexi. Lexi had a beautiful heart. She was very gifted. Brooks also noted that Lexi loved poetry, makeup, and fashion.
Lorena Borras, a Mexican-American transgender and immigrant rights activist, was known as the mother of the transgender Latinx community in Queens, New York. Her work on behalf of immigrant and transgender communities garnered recognition throughout New York City and the United States. Borras died on March 30th from complications of COVID-19.
Joanna Metzger, a transgender woman, was killed in Baltimore, Maryland on April 11th. According to reports, she was visiting a Baltimore recovery center from Pennsylvania at the time. Joanna was known for her love of music and taught herself to play multiple instruments.
Penelope Diaz Ramirez, a transgender woman, was killed in Puerto Rico on April 13th. Penelope did not deserve to die. Transgender people do not deserve to die. Every single advocate, ally, elected official, and community member must stand up in light of this horrific news and say no more. What we are doing is not enough, said Tori Cooper, HRC Director of Community Engagement for the Transgender Initiative.
Serena Angelique Velasquez Ramos, 32, was killed in Puerto Rico on April 21st. Ramos was killed alongside Leila Paez Sanchez, 21. According to reports, Ramos was visiting the island on vacation and was set to return to her home in Queens, New York, at the end of the month. Loved ones are mourning her death, calling her full of life, a happy person, and a sincere friend. On May 1st, 2 men were charged under federal hate crimes law for Ramos's death.
Leila Pelay Sanchez, 21, was killed in Puerto Rico on April 21st. Sanchez was killed alongside Serena Angelique Velasquez Ramos. According to reports, Sanchez had recently moved to the island and was living in the Tejas neighborhood in Las Piedras. On May 1st, 2 Puerto Rican men were charged under federal hate crimes law for Sanchez's death.
Nina Pop, a Black transgender woman, was killed in Sikeston, Missouri on May 3rd. She was deeply loved by her family, friends, and community, according to her Facebook page.
Ellie J. O'Regan, 20, a transgender woman, was killed in San Antonio, Texas on May 6th. O'Regan was proud of her trans identity, and on Twitter she often spoke out against injustice, including the LGBTQ inequality, the prison industrial complex, and the need to decriminalize sex work. Damian Terrell Campbell, 42, has been charged with O'Regan's murder.
Jane Thompson, a 33-year-old white transgender woman was killed in Mesa County, Colorado on May 9th. She was killed by a Colorado State Patrol trooper and misgendered in initial news reports.
For everyone born, a place at the table. For everyone born, clean water and bread. A shelter, a space, a safe place for growing. For everyone born, a star overhead. And what will delight when we are creators of justice and joy, compassion and peace? Yes, love will delight when we are creators of justice. Justice and joy, and was great, a place at the table, a covered and shared, a welcoming space, a rainbow of grace, gender and gender and gender and gender and gender and gender, the child is the praise, and love will delight when we are creators of justice and joy, compassion and peace. Yes, love will delight when we are creators of justice, justice and joy. For young and for old, a place at the table, a voice to be heard, a part in the song. The hands of a child in hands that are in growth. For young and for old, the right to belong. And love will delight when we are creators of justice and joy, compassion and peace. Yes, love will delight when we are creators of justice, justice and joy, joy. For everyone born, a place at the table, to live without fear is simply to be, to work, to speak out, to witness and worship. For everyone born, the right to be free, and love will delight when we are creators of justice and joy, compassion and peace. Yes, love will delight when we are creators of justice, justice and joy, justice and joy, justice and justice and justice and justice and joy, justice and joy.
Tony McDade, a Black transgender man, was killed in Tallahassee, Florida on May 27th. His friends and family shared how he was an energetic, giving person with a big heart.
Selena Reyes Hernandez, a 37-year-old transgender woman, was killed in Chicago on May 31st. We have lost a beloved member of our trans family because of hate. Hate that has corrupted our country's soul and that shatters lives and futures every day, said Terry Cooper, HRC Director of Community Engagement for the Transgender Justice Initiative. Dominique Rem Fells, a Black transgender woman, was killed in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania on June 9th. One personal friend posted online, "Dom was a unique and beautiful soul, who I am lucky to have known personally. I am beside myself right now. We need to fight. We need to do more. We will get justice."
Raya Milton, a 25-year-old Black transgender woman, was killed in Liberty Township, Ohio on June 9th. In March, she posted the status, "Never been scared to struggle. I'ma get it eventually." A comment highlighting her resilience and optimism as a person facing a transphobic, misogynistic, and racist society.
Brian Egypt Powers, a 43-year-old Black transgender person, was killed in Akron, Ohio on June 13th. Powers worked at a local catering company and is remembered for wearing long, colorful braids, unicorn braids, as Powers called them.
Brayla Stone, a 17-year-old Black transgender girl, was found killed in Little Rock, Arkansas on June 25th. Brayla Stone was a child just beginning to live her life, a child of trans experience, a Black girl, a person who had hopes and dreams, plans, and community, said Tori Cooper, HRC Director of Community Engagement for the Transgender Justice Initiative. On September 4th, a man was arrested on murder charge in connection with her death.
Drea McCarty was found dead on June 30th in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. An investigation is still ongoing. Louisiana trans advocates urged for local and state leaders to speak out against these killings, against the ongoing systemic devaluation of trans people that pervades our media and politics, and against the institutional racism that places almost all of this burden on trans women of color.
Mercy Mack, a 22-year-old Black transgender woman, was killed in Dallas, Texas on June 30th. Her loved ones shared how beautiful of a friend she was. On her social media, she had recently posted that she enjoyed baking and that she was looking forward to returning to work. On July 8th, a man was arrested on a murder charge in connection to her death.
Tatiana Hall was murdered in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania on June 30th. Purple was her favorite color. A close relative recalls her as a diva who had the prettiest smile and just liked to have fun.
Shockey Peters, a 32-year-old black transgender woman, was killed in Amite City, Louisiana, on July 1st. In just 4 days, we have seen the deaths of at least 3 transgender and gender nonconforming people, including Shockey Peters. This horrific spike in violence against our community must be an urgent call to action for every single person in this nation, said Tori Cooper, Director of Community Engagement for HRC's Trans Justice Initiative.
Tony
You are not normal. Something so simplistic, no matter how you stretch it, wouldn't quite fit your frame. You're a creation. Energy a lot kinder than most people make it out to be, dreamed of creating something of worth. It burrowed into the roots of this earth and shaped you, breathed into you. You're breathtaking. There's grace in the way your teeth dance with your lips. Smiles were created to fit your cheeks. There are hummingbirds nestled in your chest. You breathe melody. Words spill from your lips like notes, filling the air around you with music. You speak symphonies. You laugh so heavenly, as if a goddess has kissed your throat. Normal doesn't even begin to describe you. We were born with razor blade eyes, taught to cut each other down, but we are more alike than you think. I, too, have been taken with people who were taken with sparks, who burn you because they find you conveniently flammable, then complain of the smoke. You are more than smoke. I'm amazed at how you rise elegantly from the ashes. The phoenix was named after you. I know that some days your heartbeat glows too bright for your chest, and sometimes you feel to the point of tearing and dream to the point of believing. Just know, I love you. Just know, we love you, and will always love you, until the moon loses her footing in the sky. You are brilliant. Your strength is ancestral. You are creation. So why settle for normal?
Please join me in voice or in spirit as we sing this song together. Draw the circle wide. Draw the circle wide. No one stands alone, we'll stand side by side. Draw the circle wide. Draw the circle wide.
Bree Black, a 27-year-old Black transgender woman, was killed in Pompano Beach, Florida on July 3rd. These killings are being fueled by the deadly combination of racism and transphobia, and they must cease. We must come together as a community and demand justice for those who were taken from us, said Tori Cooper, Director of Community Engagement for HRC's Trans Justice Initiative.
Summer Taylor, a white non-binary person, was in Seattle, Washington on July 4th. Taylor was participating in the Black Femme March in solidarity with the Black Lives Matter and against police brutality. Taylor worked full-time at Urban Animal Veterinary Hospital.
Angela Martinez Gomez, 42, died in Santa Monica, California on July 6, 2020 of COVID-19. She was originally from Oaxaca, Mexico. Her employer of 15 years kept her working even though she had symptoms, and then blamed her death on taking hormone replacement therapy because she was transgender. Angela Martinez Gomez was a leader and loved by her family and community.
Marilyn Cazares was a transgender Latina killed in Brawley, California. Mindy Garcia, an aunt of Cazares, said she loved to sing and dance and never bothered anyone.
Dior H. Ova, who some reports identify as Tiffany Harris, a Black transgender woman, was killed in the Bronx, New York. According to her Facebook profile, Ova loved fashion, listing her career as a personal shopper and posting photos with luxury fashion brands that she loved. On August 13th, a man was arrested on a murder charge in connection with her death.
Kiasha D. Hardy, a 22-year-old Black transgender woman, was killed in Baton Rouge, Louisiana on July 27th. Hardy, a hairstylist, was extremely loved by her community. Friends and loved ones describe her as loyal, loving, always smiling, the life of all parties, and truly one of a kind.
Aja Raquel Roan Spears, who sometimes used the name Rocky Roan, a Black transgender woman, was killed in Portland, Oregon on July 28th. According to Facebook, she studied at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, and was the owner and founder of International Barbie, a Portland-based clothing brand.
Key Sam, a Black transgender woman, was killed in Lafayette, Louisiana on August 12th. We must all speak up in support of trans and gender non-conforming people and affirm that Black trans lives matter, said HRC's Tori Cooper, Director of Community Engagement for the Transgender Justice Initiative.
Shelley Lynn Rose, 16, died on August 26, 2020, by suicide. Her family did not accept her, and she was buried with her dead name on her tombstone. Her best friend remembers her for the beautiful woman she was, a talented artist, and a singer with the voice of an angel.
Kakedius Rebel Reed, a Black trans man from Georgia, died of a drug overdose on August 29th. He was an artist, performer, and father to a 6-year-old son, Kyan.
A Prayer for My Queer, Trans, and Non-Binary Siblings by Jess Reynolds. Here you are, here in this holy space, standing on this ground that is holy because you are here. Here you are, in flesh and bone, filling up this body that belongs to you alone. Your pumping heart is a wonder because it keeps you alive. Your loving heart is a blessing because it keeps all of us alive. The spirit of love has a home in you. May we all see that love and let our hearts become mirrors for the compassion at your core. The spirit of justice has a home in you. May we light our wicks from one another until we are all aflame, until we burn out every prejudice we carry in these bones. Here you are, holy as you are. Blessed be.
Ellie Che, 23, was found dead August 31st in the Bronx, New York. Her death has been ruled an accidental drowning. She had recently moved to New York and intended to complete her transition there. Before that, she had lived in London for the past 3 years, where she became well known in the queer nightlife scene.
Isabella Mia Lofton, a black transgender woman, was found dead in Brooklyn, New York on September 7th from a fall off the roof of a building. The family said that Isabella was a bright spark in this world and will be deeply missed.
Gia Valentina Romualdo Rodriguez, 46, died on September 15, 2020, from an embolism she suffered during plastic surgery as part of her transition to becoming a woman. Originally from Mexico, Romualdo Rodriguez had been living in the U.S. for about 20 years and had only recently been granted asylum status. Romualdo Rodriguez was reportedly a prominent member of New York's transgender community and had done work with a number of outreach organizations.
Ariane Burnett, a black transgender woman, was killed in Independence, Missouri on September 19th. Her friends and family shared, if you wanted to have a good day, you needed to smile. Ariane was the person you wanted by your side.
Mia Green, a 29-year-old black transgender woman, was killed in Philadelphia on September 28th. Her friends and family shared how, quote, her smile was so perfect and so contagious, she made me laugh.
Michelle Michelin Ramos Vargas, a transgender woman from Puerto Rico in her mid-30s, was killed in San German, Puerto Rico on September 30th. This level of violence, any level of violence, is unacceptable. We are not doing enough to protect transgender and gender nonconforming people, especially trans women. said HRC's Tori Cooper, Director of Community Engagement for the Transgender Justice Initiative.
Felicia Harris, a 33-year-old transgender woman, was killed in Augusta, Georgia, in October. Felicia was an interior decorator who ran her own company where she enjoyed lending her eye to improve the surroundings of others, and she made others feel comfortable in their own space.
Brooklyn DeShuna, 20, a black transgender woman, was killed in Shreveport, Louisiana on October 7. Brooklyn attended Bossier Parish Community College and studied cosmetology.
Sarah Blackwood, a transgender woman, was killed in Indianapolis, Indiana on October 11th, recognized as National Coming Out Day. She enjoyed playing video games and was a fan of the show My Little Pony.
Gwen Ariujo was a 17-year-old transgender youth whose death 18 years ago became the inspiration for the Transgender Day of Remembrance March. She was an admired young activist, and her presence continues to live on through us today.
We are lighting this candle in memory of all of our transgender siblings whose deaths are not known to us. Their murders were not reported as a hate crime against a transgender person, or their death was classified as unspecified or suspicious, or they died by suicide or drug overdose. We honor your memory. You are not forgotten.
Whew, let's all take a deep breath together. Before we close the program, I wanted to give a few thank yous to the people who've worked diligently to make this online program meaningful. I want to give special thanks to Dale Brown from RBMCC and Miliana Singh from the Center OC for your co-hosting, co-sponsorship partnerships. Thank you so much. And I want to give a big shout out to Steve and Barbara Morihiro, who were the ones who edited and created and designed those beautiful candle memorials. So thank you, Steve and Barbara. I know you spent many hours putting that together, so thank you very much. And to all of the others here on this list who have helped and in many different ways behind the scenes, and also the musicians and speakers you heard tonight. Thank you so much, everybody. So we've seen 51 candles blown out tonight, 48 representing people who were killed in the last year, 2 representing icons of the trans movement, and 1 representing all the unknown victims. Now it is time for all of us to return their light to the world. In a moment, we will all be lighting candles as an act of remembrance and as an act of resilience for the community of transgender and non-binary people, plus those who love and support them. For this part, you might want to flip to gallery view in your Zoom window if you know how to do that. As we light our candles, let's all commit to making our world safer, more just, and more joyful for our trans and non-binary siblings. And let's raise our lit candles up toward our cameras so we fill the screen with our lights for a few moments while I play the piano. When the music ends, we'll set our candles down in a safe place, but let's keep them shining for the remainder of the program.
Everyone knows this world ain't perfect, but what you got going on, it makes you worthy. Any way you turn, or any way I slice it, someone's gonna get burned, but those scars are truly worth it. One day you'll see that the answer you seek was in front of you, baby. Love is all you need when your back's against the wall, 'cause you feel you've lost it all. There's nowhere left to turn and no one left to call. There is someone just like you who feels the same way too. Why would you surrender? Don't give up on love. On love, on love, on love. On love, on love, on love.
Sometimes it feels things won't get better, but in time you realize nothing lasts forever.
One day you'll see that the answer you seek was in front of you, baby. Love is all you need when your back's against the wall, 'cause you feel you've lost it all. There's nowhere left to turn and no one left to call. There is someone just like you who feels the same way too. Why would you surrender? Don't give up on love. On love, on love, on love. On love, on love. When your hope has run away, don't give up. If you've ever been betrayed, don't give up. When you fall your last ride, why would you surrender? Don't give up on love when your back's against the wall, 'cause you feel you lost it all. There's nowhere left to turn and no one left to call. There's someone just like you who feels the same way too. Why would you surrender? Don't give up on love. On love, on love, on love. On love, on love, on love.
I'm Pastor Dale Brown from Resurrection Beach Metropolitan Community Church, and we want to thank you so much for joining us for this evening's Transgender Day of Resilience and Remembrance. Scripture tells us in Proverbs 3, verse 29, do not plot harm against your neighbor who lives trustfully near you. And from Proverbs 3, verse 31, we are told, do not envy the violent or choose any of their ways. And so in closing, we must never forget those whose lives were taken through senseless killings simply because those killed were living his, her, or their authentic lives. We must learn from the past, we must educate against such killings in the present, and we must build a brighter future free of such senseless hatred, discrimination, and killings. On behalf of the Orange Coast Unitarian Universalist Church, the Orange County LGBT Center's Transitions Health and Wellness Support Group, and Resurrection Beach Metropolitan Community Church, we thank you so much for gathering together with us in community this evening to remember and honor the lives lost simply because of living his, her, or their authentic lives. Thank you, and God bless you.